I received a phone call from my brother, and he said to me, he says, "What have you done? You've brought the most shame to our family than anything." He says, "The FBI is here. They've come here and they're asking questions about you." He says, "You run away from the United States and you ran to this terrorist group." So reading the Bible in the New Testament, studying Jesus, peace be upon him, with the Christian belief that Jesus was God and he was also the Son of God, that's what took me away, because he never said, "I'm your God, pray to me." It came later on with the Apostle Paul or Saul, and also in the book of Matthew, there's a place where he was with three of the, we'll say Sahaba, he was with the three of the apostles, and he was going into a garden where he told these three, he says, "Wait here, because if they find me, they'll kill me." That was a very human trait. That's something that if a God was saying something like that, it would be like, "I don't care what you do, I'm going to go here, I'm not worried." So at least that was the thing that I knew was true. And then I prayed to God alone, and that was the, I say, evolution of how I became Muslim. I had to have been 19, probably right around 20. I was driving to church. I was going to teach my youth ministry, which they were from 15 to 18. That was the age group that I was teaching. I was at war with myself. Like, I needed God. I needed him in my life. I needed the right path to God. I said, "Okay, God, please show me the way. Show me this path that you want me to be in. Show me the truth. I need it now. Please, God, please give it to me." So after this event had taken place, I met someone that I knew when I was in college studying. He's from Saudi Arabia. His name's Ali Al-Ghamdi. He's from the very southern tip of Saudi Arabia, a place called Bisha. We had met up. He asked me, he says, "What's your religion?" And I told him, I said, "I'm without religion." He says, "What do you mean? What's this? There's no such thing as without religion. What do you believe?" I said, "Well, I pray to God." And he says, "Okay." He said, "So are you a Christian?" I said, "No, I'm not a Christian." He said, "Well, what do you think Jesus, peace be upon him, is?" I said, "He's a prophet. He's a man just like me and you." He says, "So he's not the Son of God?" And I said, "No, he's a man. He's a prophet. He delivered a word and he delivered a message, and I believe what he said was true." And he said, "Okay." He says, "Well, what do you think about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him?" And I said, "Well," he says, "Do you think he's a prophet?" I said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "I think he's a prophet. He had a word also, but I don't believe that was for me. I believe that it was for a different group of people." And he looked at me and he stuck his finger in my face and he says, "You're a Muslim, man." And then I returned the finger and I said, "No." I said, "I'm not a Muslim, and my name and that word will never be connected." So that day, there was something inside me. It was like a dot. There was some type of dot that had been put in my heart. And so I would go on there and I would ask Jeeves, which Jeeves was the Google of today back then. So I would go and ask Jeeves, just type in Islamic topics. One day I'd come home from work and I was, just following my normal routine, come home from work, take off my shoes and everything, get comfortable, and sat down at my computer. What is Islam? Give the 5 pillars of Islam. When I read them, for some reason, I read La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and I said, I believe that. And then I read, make Hajj, to fast, to pay zakat, to pray. Every pillar that I read, it was like something had opened. I can't explain it. It was like if my heart was being painted or a light was opening inside me. Then once I had finished reading all the 5 pillars, I knew that I couldn't go any other direction. That was the only direction that I could go. And there was a link. It said how to be Muslim. So I clicked that link and there was a small PDF that opened up. I'm holding this piece of paper and then I went to the bathroom. I took my Shahada in a bathroom. By myself, I went in the bathroom. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. I washed myself in the bathroom, and then from that point I started praying. So one day I was praying and I forgot to lock the door. The door opens and Ali, he comes in, he says, "Oh, hey," what are you doing? And I'm standing in prayer. He walks away And then I finished prayer, and I kind of tiptoed in the living room there, and he's sitting on the couch. He says, "Are you making fun of me?" He says, "You're making fun of my religion?" And I sat down beside him, and I sat there, and I said, "Ali," I said, "I have something I need to tell you." And I said, I'm Muslim. I took my Shahada. At that time, Ali, he says, "Well, we have to go to the mosque. Have you been to the mosque?" I said, "No, I don't know. I don't know anything about the mosque." He says, "So we have to go to the mosque." So that Friday, that Jummah, was a homecoming. I was hugged and kissed and picked up and, shown off and taken to this one and taken to that one, invited for dinners for days. I probably didn't spend money after that for 2 months because they all wanted me to eat in their home. And it was the most beautiful thing was when I first went to that mosque there in Pensacola. It was a wonderful time. That was a very difficult time. I was out working. I was doing my job, and I had no idea that what was happening. I received a call on my cell phone. It was one of my brothers. His name's Rashid al-Khatib. He called me. He said, "Are you okay?" And I told him, I said, I don't know why. And at that point, I started getting afraid. He told me, he says, "You don't know what happened?" I told him, "No." I said, I don't know what happened. I said, "Please tell me quickly." He said, "Your country's been attacked. Is your family okay?" I told him, I said, "No." I said, "I don't know what's going on. What happened?" He says, "The world towers have been attacked, and the Pentagon also has been attacked." And he says, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm right here at this place." And he drove to me. It was a moment that, there was no sense in it. It was something that happened that was so atrocious that damaged us so greatly. And it was a moment that when he told me, he says, "Are you okay? And is your family okay?" It was terrifying. And then I started to think, like, all of the people, the children that were inside. There was a daycare center inside there for the people that worked there. After he took me home. He said, "You're staying with me for a few days." Because we had no idea what was happening. We didn't know where it was coming from. We didn't know what was going to happen next. I received a phone call from my brother, and he said to me, he says, "What have you done?" And I said, "Wait, hold on a minute. What do you mean?" He says, "You've brought the most shame to our family than anything. What have you done?" And I said, "Jamie," I said, "Wait a second." I said, "Hold on." I said, "What's happened?" He says, "The FBI's here. They've come here and they're asking questions about you." And I said, "Okay." I said, just rest assured, there's nothing, I've done nothing wrong." He says, "You run away from the United States and you ran to this terrorist group." I said, "Just please calm down." I said, "Give me the telephone number of the FBI agent. I'm going to call them and I'm going to get this straightened out." So what had happened is the FBI agent went to my grandfather that I spoke of earlier. When the FBI agent knocked on the door, hold up their badges to an old man like that with already a pre-existing condition, he had to go to the hospital. They had to rush him to the emergency room because he hit the floor. I got the number of this FBI agent. I called it up and I was infuriated. I was so angry at that point. And I had got on the phone with him and I said, "Yes." I said, "This is Carly Dodrell. I heard that you're looking for me." He says, "Oh yes, Mr. Dodrell, where are you? We've been searching everywhere for you." And I told him, I said, "Well, you being the FBI, if you have any sense, you'll contact the consulate where I'm registered and I'm living here in Saudi Arabia. I'm not hiding from anyone." He says, "Well, we need to talk to you. We've been searching for you and we need to ask you some questions." And I said, "Okay." I said, "But first, if you go to another family member of mine, when I get back to the United States, I will find you. I will come to you where you are at in your office and I will teach you a lesson you'll never forget." He said, "Do you understand you're threatening me?" I said, "Yes, I understand that." I said, "I am threatening you." I said, "You will not go to another family member, friend, or anyone else that is related to me." He says, "Okay, well, we need to ask you some questions." So he starts asking about Al-Ghamdis and he starts asking about all these people. I told him, I said, "Look, let's make a long story short. If any of my brothers are involved and were a part of this thing that happened," I said, "I'm involved as well." He says, "Wait," he says, "Do you understand what you're saying?" I said, "Yes, I understand very well." I said, "We were students, we were workers, we were, sometimes we barely had money to get food that we wanted or, go out and do things." I said, "There's no way that any of them could have had any part in what had happened." I said, "Furthermore, it's not even an act of Islam. It's an act of a terrorist." which is not what we are. So the conversation went a little bit farther, but there was one thing for sure, that I didn't want to, harm my family. I didn't want people to think that I was part of this. So after 9/11, I was coming out of a McDonald's that day. I was working. I came out of this McDonald's and I have my white shirt and my tie. I'm the white guy there. I stand out. There was a group of kids standing over, and then out of that group of kids, there was a wad of spit came and landed right in the center of my tie. And I looked at that point, and I'd never been spit on before, and I just couldn't believe, such a thing just happened to me. How did I get spit on? At that point, then all these types of things, there was so many attacks that was taking place on Americans, people inside compounds that were being killed. These people, the enemies of Islam, which are the terrorists, they were seeking people out in their homes. I had to be careful at that point. September 11th was not an act of Islam. It's very defined in our religion that if you take the life of any innocent, if you take your own life, you're excluded, you're out. There are some people that have been misguided, that do have evil and hatred, and they are lovers of this life. They're not really followers of our religion, because our religion promotes peace and submission to one God. And it's in the name. Salam is salam, and that's peace. If our religion is named peace, how can it be that this religion is such terrorist and horrible people? If you just go and you follow the teachings and you read the Quran and you read the Sunnah of the Prophet, then you're going to know what this religion is. You cannot take this religion from what one person said or what one website said or what one preacher had published a book about. You need to go and look at it yourself, and you will find the truth. But the only way that you're going to have the truth in your heart is asking God to bring it into your heart. You must go and submit yourself, open yourself up to God. If you believe in God, open yourself up and let Him show you the right way. The humanity of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the example, and it is the example that we all aspire to be. He was so humble and kind to everyone. I've never seen harsh words that he's given, even when he was getting on to someone. If he was telling them something that they did wrong, it was still in a way that they wanted to hear it. They wanted to hear it. It was never, like we get on to our children. It was delivered in a way that people wanted to receive. And that's the way that I like to make dawah. When I make my dawah and I tell people about Islam, is I try to think about how would the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, approach this person. This is our belief. It's a belief of submission and peace to one God. It's to strive and to be more like Him is what we're all wanting to be. My journey is right now, and inshallah for the rest of my life, is I want to be in mosques. I want to be in dawah centers. I want to be inside your homes, from your mobile device to your televisions. I want to be able to be heard, and I want my word, and which is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be heard throughout the world and to be accepted, inshallah.